Hello everyone, welcome back to our Unified Modeling Language lecture series. I am Nadia Patel. Let's get started with our today's lecture. We are in continuation to Introduction to Software Engineering's UML Diagrams Part 2. We have already seen many of the UML behavioral and structural diagrams. In today's lecture, we will go through interaction diagrams, sequence diagram. I have already uploaded 2 videos on first the concept of sequence diagram, what are the conceptual things, definition, symbols, notation, meaning of every notation in one video. The other video I have already uploaded an example for library management system, how you can make use of sequence diagram notations and draw library book renewal and reservation management system. In today's lecture, we will go through some points, which is again block diagram of sequence diagram, where we will again revise some of the notations. In this particular video lecture, I have focused mainly on some detailed notations now. You can make use of the basic notations and draw your diagram, but if you want to go into the details and show how exactly the system is interacting and is having a sequence of messages and interaction in them, you can make use of some advanced notations, or you can go into the minute details. Another thing which we should remember is UML notations and diagrams are used majorly to explain the coding of your system. So if you want to capture or explain how exactly your code is working from form 1 to form n, so how exactly the coding of object-oriented programming is taking place, how conceptually your forms or your data is interacting, you can show all of that using UML diagrams. So there are certain notations which we will see in today's lecture, which are particularly used in combination to coding. After block diagram, we will see those notations which will give you a finishing touch for your sequence diagram, and finally we will see the example. So this is the basic block diagram of sequence diagram, which I have already explained in the previous lecture, in the previous video lecture of library management system. I have made use of the basic notations here, but now we will jump and see the minute details of these notations. So one thing which I have gone through while reading over books and internet too, these are actually objects involved which we place horizontally in a line, in a row, in a sequence. So first thing which we should do is finding the objects of our system. Say for example, you want to explain the sequence of interaction and not the coding of your project. Even then you can pick the objects, you can name your form. Say for example, there is product, customer and customer's bill. If you are working on a buying and selling project and there are modules like customer, product and customer bill, you can call it as an object. You can place it here as customer, you can place it here as product and place it here as customer bill. Do not forget to make use of the colon symbol and underline. One more thing which I think you should avoid doing is, people call this, which is the object rectangle, and this dashed line as lifeline. So this is not one notation. In fact, there are 2 notations. The notation 1 is object, and the notation 2, which is this dotted line which is going straight long down vertically, is known as lifeline. This is lifeline. This, as the name is suggesting, shows us how long the object is going to be alive. So people call both of these notations together as lifeline, which is wrong. Trust me, not everything on internet is going to be true and correct at point. Then you might say even your video is on internet. Should we trust this? I do trust books over internet and website material. So after referring to 2 or 3 reference books, I found that this is a different notation and this is a separate one. So make sure you keep these things in mind, and do not forget to cross-check whatever you study over internet by making use of 2 or 3 videos and then summarize to your notes. So I hope it is clear now. The next symbol which is again a common symbol, that is activation box. As soon as we receive a message from the sender, the object who is receiving the message gets active. So as you can see in the diagram as well, as soon as I have sent a message, the activation box is drawn. Similarly, here I have sent a message from middle. The activation box has got highlighted or has got, you can say, has came into life. So activation boxes are the things which make other objects active. So as soon as possible you are going to receive your message, you should draw the activation box. Now you cannot draw your activation box from upward here and then receive your first message in between here. That is wrong. So as soon as we receive a message from sender, we should draw our activation box. Now let us go through the next symbol. Now this is one level up. We all know that these are sending messages and these are the receiving messages. But now you should learn to differentiate between messages as asynchronous message and synchronous message. As the name is suggesting, asynchronous things are those which do not require anything in sync, which do not wait for anything. So asynchronous messages are not going to wait for any response message or any reply from the receiver. They will keep on going, they will keep on interacting with objects and other entities and will not wait for a reply message. And in contrast to this, you can make use of synchronous messages. Now what are these synchronous messages? These are the messages which work in sync with others. So once they send a message, they will wait for a reply message and then they will send the next message. So unless and until they get a reply for their sending message, they won't proceed. But asynchronous messages will keep on proceeding, they will keep on interacting with other objects and they will not wait for the reply message. As we all do in chatting or while we are having a conversation with our friends, we wait for his or her reply and then ask the next question or next thing. So synchronous messages are like that. Once you send, you wait for a reply and then you send the next message. Next thing which you should remember is keep a close observation towards the notation. Here the arrow types are different. If you're making use of asynchronous message, because after drawing the diagram we will not be able to make out the difference between which message is synchronous and which one is asynchronous. So there is a slight difference in notation if you see. Here open arrow head is used for asynchronous message, and for synchronous one you should make use of closed arrowhead. This is just the difference. The third difference is for reply messages. If you're giving a reply to a received message, this is the sending message and this is a reply message. For a reply message, make use of dashed line. For a sending synchronous message, make use of solid line and field arrowhead or closed arrowhead. For asynchronous message, make use of regular normal arrowhead with the open arrowheads. So these are the basic differences. One more thing which you can see here is this one is an object calling itself. So if there is some part in your coding which is having a subroutine or a method which is getting called within itself, in such cases you can make use of this symbol which is known as a self call. You can draw a loop like arrow from the activation within the activation, and you can draw a small activation box as well. So again, one more thing which everyone should try to maintain is, it is not compulsory but try to maintain, messages should be started from left hand side to right hand side. Start sending your message from left hand side to right hand side receive your messages from right hand side to left hand side. Now every time this is not possible, every time it won't work. Maybe object 3 gives the first message, so as it is placed the farthest, it will give the first message from right hand side to left hand side. So it is not compulsorily required that you should start sending from left hand side and start receiving in the right hand side itself. Keep it flexible, keep it readable, keep it in sequence. That is what is all about sequence diagram. So keep all these points in mind. One more thing is, if you think there is an object which comes alive and gets destroyed in between the process and the sequence diagram is not yet finished, but still this object is something which can come and just destroy. In such cases, you can put a cross mark which is known as termination. In some books, I read it as deletion. They call it deletion as well. So this is the block diagram. Again, one more thing is that I'm calling it one more thing every time, but there are 10 things to remember about activation box. So say, for example, if I draw object 2's activation box as in till here, the sending messages and reply messages will need to bridge the activation box. So for that simplicity, you can draw small boxes and make it flexible for you. Now let us proceed and see some more things about synchronous call. Asynchronous call, as I told you, make use of solid arrowheads for synchronous, make use of open arrowhead for asynchronous, dashed lines to represent reply messages, and only synchronous messages will have reply. Asynchronous ones will not have replies, and they will not even wait for the reply, they'll go on interacting. Asynchronous calls are present in multi-threaded application, event-driven applications, and in message-oriented middleware. Synchronous message should be represented with a solid line. This symbol is used when sender must wait for a response to a message before it continues. The diagram should show both the call and the reply, that is, the sending messages and then the reply. Both the messages should be shown. Asynchronous message symbol should be represented by a solid line with a lined arrowhead. They do not require a response from the receiver. The only call should be included in the diagram. Finally, this one is again an added symbol, which is a create message symbol. Say for example, within the processing, an object is getting created with certain conditions. In such cases, you can make use of dashed line and make use of stereotype symbol and mention create. So this is asynchronous create message symbol. So these are the notations for synchronous, asynchronous, reply or return message, self-call. Now let us go through how to make use of the conditions. As I told you, coding can also be explained in detail in a beautiful manner by making use of UML diagrams. So our coding is incomplete from conditions, it is incomplete from loops. So when you add these things, then it defines our coding in a beautiful manner. So guard conditions, you might be familiar to the guard condition. Square brackets are used, and inside these square brackets we just put our condition. Every condition has a true and a false part. So if you are making use of if construct, I hope you all are familiar to the looping constructs, to the conditional statements and all of those things, because that is going to help you a lot here. If there is no else part in your coding and there is only if part, you can make use of guard condition. The next type is alt, or you can say alternative as they call. Alternative, as the name is suggesting, you are going to have two options and you are going to select one option. So again, you are going to make use of square bracket. give your condition, whatever your condition is. Say for example, my loop should be executed, or there is an if and else part. If A is greater than B, do something, else do something. If there is this kind of example, if there is if part and there is an else part, then you should make use of alt or alternative symbol, which I'll show you quickly. One example could be register and login. If you are someone who is making use of a system for the first time, you need to register. And if you are someone who are making use of the system for the second time, you have already registered, then you will go and log in. Otherwise, you have to register yourself. So this is else part. Either you will register for the first time and then log in, or you will come and directly log into the system. So when there is if and else, you should make use of alt. The next is optional part. Now many people get confused between alt and optional. Don't get confused, just make it very clear in your mind that alt is when there is if and else part. You will get two options and either of the one part will be executed. In optional, as the name is suggesting, this part is going to be optional. In your complete system, if certain constraint is hit, if certain constraint is satisfied, then and then only optional part will get highlighted. It is very similar to guard condition. So I would suggest, and I keep on suggesting students, that make use of guard condition, which is very easy for you to work with. And if there is an or part, either this or this, then in such cases make use of alt. Don't get confused between these two. So one example could be order, buying and selling. Unless and until you receive order from your customer, you are not going to sell your products. So in such case, this is an optional part. Ordering becomes optional, or unless and until you get an order, you're not going to sell. So just remember, guard and optional are same. Alt is when we have two choices. The next is parallel. Very easy. Again, if you satisfy certain condition, and after satisfying that condition, you perform two activities, that too in parallel. In parallel means they will get executed at once, not one after the other, not after execution of the other, but executing at once. That means it is in parallel. So one good example could be when we are working on buying and selling kind of projects. When we buy certain product, we update stock. That means we increment the stock, we add it in the stock. And when we sell some products, we decrement the stock. That means we just delete, or you can say you just minus your stock. So this process just takes place in sync or in parallel. You buy, immediately the stock should get updated. You sell, immediately the stock should get updated. And finally, there is loop. Loop, we all know, we all are familiar. If there is for, if there is while, if there is do while in your coding, you can make use of loop symbol. As it is loop, it is going to have iterations. That means you will perform certain looping or iteration kind of things. Again, you have to satisfy some conditions. There will be an if part where your condition will be satisfied, and also there can be an else part. But for loop, remember, whenever there is iteration, go for loop symbol. Whenever there are two choices, go for alt symbol. Whenever you think that after certain constraint is satisfied or certain condition is satisfied, two activities are performed in parallel, make use of parallel symbol. And when you just want to give a simple condition, a very simple condition, if that condition is satisfied, some activity will be performed, make use of guard condition or optional condition. So this is all about the detailed part of sequence diagram. Now, what steps should be followed? First, find the objects taking part in the interaction. Then find the flow of messages. Which object is giving the first message and then activating the other message? Find that. Next, give nice numbering. If this you're able to do this, this is the best thing to happen, because that becomes very easy for the other person to read. You can number your messages. I haven't numbered in my message example, but you can number them starting from the number 1 to number whatever it is, first, second, third message. Number your messages and finally organize them. How to organize them, I'll show you quickly. Now this is the example for sequence diagram for hospital or clinic management system. As you can see, there are a lot of elements on the screen. It might scare you, but do not get scared at all. Sequence diagram is the most easiest one. So once you find these 4 things, once you just follow these rules of thumb, this is going to be very, very easy for you. Start by placing your objects in the object symbol. Do not forget to make use of colon and underline. So as it is hospital management, I have picked up the important entities and important objects only. So according to me, patient should come first. First interaction of patient takes place with the receptionist, not directly with the doctor. The next part which should be completed before seeing your doctor is registering or creating your case paper. So once you have created your case paper, we take an appointment. If your system demands for booking an appointment, I'll tell you what to do. But first let us go through this example. Next will be taking appointment and finally taking the treatment from the doctor. So as soon as we finish by placing our objects, draw the dashed lifelines. These. Draw straight, vertical, long dashed lines. And once you finish with all of the interaction, then decide which object remains for a very long while, which object doesn't remain. Now let us start with the activation boxes. As a beginning, you can draw long, big activation box. Later you can just erase it up. Always follow pen, pencil, paper method first and then switch on to drawing it on tools. It becomes very easy, trust me. Even I draw my diagrams first on my worksheet first with pen, pencil, paper, whatever you get, and then automate it and then make use of tools. There are certain tools which I'll tell you in the end of this video. So after doing the basic things, which is placing the object, drawing the lifeline, drawing the activation box, now let us start placing the arrows. So as a beginner, just go on placing the arrows. Don't decide whether this is going to be a synchronous call or asynchronous call. That we will do in the end. So start by drawing all the message arrows. So first thing what I have done is the patient visits the clinic. So when he visits the clinic, he visits the receptionist. He gives his information. Once the receptionist gets the information, she adds the information in the register, or she follows the process of registration, which could be taking your name, address, mobile number, your gender, age. If there is a medical history, like you are a diabetic patient, you have lifestyle disorders like diabetes or blood pressure. If you are just suffering with a severe disease, or you have taken a recent treatment, whatever it is. So the process of registration will take place. As soon as registration finishes, we are going to prepare case paper. So according to me, this object will get alive once the process of registration is completed. So I have made use of create message symbol, which I have already explained. You can switch back to the previous part of this video and learn it back. So here I have made use of create. So as soon as registration finishes, we will create the case paper. So as soon as it has got the first message, the activation box has got started or has got active. The next is she will ask for case paper fees. the patient will make the payment or pay the fees, and she will proceed or generate or give him a case paper card, or just simply tell him or her the case paper number. Now here you can see that what if the patient has already done this process? Like, I have already visited the doctor for the first time and I am here for a follow-up, and now I again don't want to, I am within the period of you can see the case paper fees. They put a period of 3 months or 2 months, and if you have already paid the case paper fees, you don't have to pay for it back, you only pay for the follow-up. So what if I am visiting for the second time? So here we get or condition. Either the patient is going to be new or the patient is going to be old. So here when we get or, I have explained you, if there is if and else part, here there is if and else part, so I have made use of alt symbol. This is alternative symbol. This is the symbol. This is a big package kind of symbol. You can put a frame, just give a dividation here, mention whether you are making use of optional, alt, parallel, guard, whatever it is. Here it is alt. So here on the upside I should place my if condition. If patient is new, follow these steps. Put a divider here. You can see this green dashed line is a divider, and this divides the if part from the else part. Else it will check if the patient is old. Yes, the patient is old. She will search for the case paper. She will get the details. She will ask for follow-up fees. Here she asked for the case paper fees. Now here she is asking for the follow-up fees. The person will make payment. She will forward him the receipt. So this is the interaction by making use of alt, where we have an if part and an else part. Now the process of registration and generating or creating the case paper is done. Now the receptionist will check whether today's appointments are there or all the appointments are full. Say for example, the doctor just restricts to taking 10 patients only. Daily he will take only 5 to 10 patients, not more than that, for his own sake and for the sake of patients. In such case, if you are the 11th one, you will not be given any appointment. So she will make sure here you can put all the constraints by making use of guard condition, as here I have done. See, there are square brackets. I know this is not that visible. I will show you the enlarged image as well in the end. So please watch this video till the end. So here in the square bracket you can put your condition. If whatever your constraint is, like 20 patient or 15 patients are full, no appointment. If there is a place or there is space, you can give the appointment. Also check if any appointment is cancelled. Again, there is a small procedure involved here. If any appointment is cancelled, you will reserve or book the new patient's appointment. So again here there are two conditions. If it is empty, vacant, we will reserve it. Otherwise, she is going to give him another date and time. So again there are two conditions. If available, she'll take this action. If not available, this interaction will be taken place. So again I have made use of alt symbol. So after this procedure is completed, say for example, we will assume that we got the appointment. Now she will forward the case paper to the doctor. Till this process was going on, the doctor's activation box did not got highlighted. Now doctor came into picture. So now you should draw his activation box. As soon as the case paper has got forwarded, the patient will now visit the doctor. Doctor will in return check him, suggest him the necessary treatment. He will again prescribe the medicines. He will at the same time update the case paper. He will write all of the treatments, whatever he has suggested. He will write the name of the medicines on his case paper. So he will update the case paper. Further, he will forward the case paper and if any additional payments he has charged to the receptionist. Now, receptionist will ask the same, that is for the additional payment to the patient. He will make the payment and the receptionist will forward the receipt. Before forwarding the receipt, as soon as she gets the payment, she will maintain the case paper, whatever it is, she will just put it back in the folder, or if it is an automated system, she will just update it. This will happen in sync. Again, do not forget, if there is a portal, if they have made use of an automated system, both receptionist and doctor can update and maintain the case papers at the same time. So this will happen in parallel. Here you should put the same box. All the conditions which I have shown you here, these all follow only one symbol, which is this, putting a box. And in the left hand side corner, you should mention what box you are opting for, whether it is optional, whether it is alt, whether it is parallel. So if this is a portal and receptionist and doctor are working simultaneously, you should put a parallel box here, otherwise you just separate it out. One more thing which you can do here is to update this diagram. You can put a loop. Say for example, the treatment is for 5 to 10 days and after 10 days the patient is supposed to see the doctor again, so that doctor can understand whether the medicines have suited him, whether the treatment is working correctly or not, or he can make some changes in them. So if he has called him within the period of case paper, so this will be an iteration. So he will come back, he will follow all the procedures, or you can put everything in a loop. If you think it is not necessary, then just leave it as it is. So this is all about the sequence diagram and making use of the minute details. Now, what remains is deciding which message is synchronous and which one is asynchronous. So whenever you think that a message is not waiting for reply, like here, I thought after visiting the receptionist, he is not going to wait for someone to come and welcome him. So patient will directly come to the reception, he will give his information. So this is an asynchronous call, but after giving information, he should wait for the reply so that the receptionist tells him whether there are appointment, whether he is able to take the treatment today or not. So this becomes synchronous call. Similarly, every synchronous message should have a reply. Just remember this, that's it. And you are done with the diagram. The most easy and the simple one, very, very easy sequence diagram. So this is all about the sequence diagram. I hope it was easy for you to understand. Let me quickly show you with the zoom manner so that every minute things are easy for you to understand. I found a lot of requests on sequence diagrams, which is the easiest one. Yes, one more thing I forgot to tell. Everything is happening inside the system, or this whole thing is a system, and according to rules, everything should be kept inside a box, enclosed boundary. They call it as fragment. Even this one is a fragment. Alt, this part is a fragment. You can say fragment 1, fragment 2, fragment 3. So you should enclose your sequence diagram. On the left hand corner, write the name of your fragment, which could be updating, which could be initializing, which can be process of registration, process of booking an appointment. So in the corner you should mention, if you are confused with everything, mention your system name. That's it. Once you put forward all of the notations together, it becomes very easy. So this is when you zoom it. Again, there are certain constraints which time to time come into our systems. So as you can see here, I hope it is visible. There is a small bracket I've put in here. So conditions can be put inside a bracket and inside the square bracket too. So this is it. Now, which tool should you use for drawing UML diagram? There are many online tools. There is Star UML, which is a software. You can just download it and install it in your system, in your computer, or you can also make use of Lucid Chart. It is slightly difficult to work, but they just give you all of the possible things when you upgrade, when you pay for it. If you are searching for the free ones, go for Star UML, and Lucid Chart also comes up with a free version. So this is all about it, and this is the next part of reserving the appointment, and the third part. Here you can put a loop. So that's it. That's all about the sequence diagram for hospital or clinic management system. Now, if you want to upgrade this system and put an app for booking an appointment, so here what you can do is directly patient could be placed, or you can say appointment could be placed after patient. So once what he will do is book the appointment and then directly visit the clinic or hospital. That's it. I hope it was easy. Please do not forget to like if you found it useful and beneficial. Thank you so much.